Have you ever imagined a place where ice meets geopolitics, where wild nature hides treasures coveted by world powers? Well, get ready because in this episode we're going to travel to Greenland, an island that's at the center of a perfect storm of global interests. We're going to unravel why this icy territory is much more than a stunning landscape. It's a key piece in the puzzle of world power. Development. The setting: Greenland on the global map. Greenland, what a place! Most of its territory is an immense expanse of ice, and its location is strategically important like few others. Imagine this: it belongs to Denmark, but it has its own government. And here's the juicy part. This island is like a hidden treasure for the world. It has incredibly valuable natural resources. It's key to the new maritime routes that are emerging due to the melting ice, and all of this makes it a hotspot in the power struggle between the most powerful countries. A bit of history to understand the present. To understand why Greenland is so important today, we have to take a look at the past. From when the Vikings arrived in the 10th century until Denmark colonized it in the 18th century, Greenland has always had a history very closely tied to its extreme nature. But there was a moment that changed everything: the Cold War. Suddenly, Greenland became a military stronghold, with United States radar bases watching the horizon. And now, in the 21st century, climate change is opening a new chapter in this story. The melting ice is revealing super-coveted minerals, like rare earth elements and oil, and is opening the door to shorter trade routes between Asia, Europe, and North America. The people and politics, a complicated issue. Greenland isn't just ice and resources. It's home to about 57,000 people, mostly Inuit, who have a very deep connection to their land. And here's another key point. Although Denmark handles foreign relations and defense, Greenland has a lot of autonomy in its day-to-day life. But the big question that lingers in the air is total independence. Greenlanders look at those natural resources and ask themselves, could we be an independent country? Of course, it's not that easy. They depend economically on Denmark, and climate change adds a great deal of uncertainty to the future. Everyone wants a piece of the pie. The whole world is setting its eyes on Greenland. Its position in the Arctic and the fight for resources are attracting many players. The United States, for example, has shown great interest, even with Trump's famous offer to buy it in 2019. And China is also trying to get involved to gain access to those valuable minerals. Furthermore, the accelerated melting of the ice is generating global concern about its effects on the environment. What is Greenland to the world? So, what does Greenland mean in this great geopolitical game? It's a disputed territory where world powers compete for its territory, its resources, and its strategic position in the Arctic. And what makes Greenland so special? Wealth of resources. It's like a gold mine of strategic minerals, uranium, rare earth elements, and more. Indispensable for the technology we use every day. Top location. It's right in the middle of the Atlantic and the Arctic, a key point for trade and defense. Climate change. The melting ice is changing Greenland's map, opening up new opportunities, but also creating great challenges. The consequences of global greed. All this global interest has significant consequences. On the one hand, there's the environmental impact. On the other, political tensions. For Greenlanders, it's a mix of feelings. The promise of getting rich from exploiting the resources clashes with the fear of losing their unique culture and ecosystems. Conflicting viewpoints. As in any complex story, there are different ways of seeing Greenland's situation. The optimists, they see a bright future with economic development and political independence. The critics, they are worried about climate change and the damage that economic exploitation can cause to the environment. The geopolitics, they see Greenland as a battleground in the rivalry between powers like the United States and China. Greenland's big decision. Greenland is at a crossroads. Yes, economic development is a real possibility, but at what price? Protect its environment and culture, or dive headfirst into economic exploitation? And let's not forget the growing militarization of the Arctic, which could turn Greenland into a hotspot for international conflicts. Final reflection: the big questions. This is where it's our turn to think a bit. How can a balance be found between economic development, political sovereignty, and caring for the planet, especially when there is so much outside pressure? And another fundamental question: what role should indigenous communities have in the decisions that are going to change their future? The present and future of Greenland. Today, Greenland is experiencing an increase in foreign investment and the attention of diplomats from around the world. But it also faces great challenges: the pressure to allow large-scale mining and the growing military presence in its territory. And what does the long term hold for Greenland? Independence. If the economy grows a lot, independence could be closer, but inequalities within the island could also increase. Environment. Climate change will continue to transform Greenland's landscape, which will affect both its nature and its economy. What could be done? To finish, let's talk about possible solutions. We need international agreements that ensure a balance between development and sustainability. It is essential that local communities participate in all decisions that are made about their future. And we have to commit to clean and responsible technologies for the exploitation of resources. Other key points. How Greenland is seen in the media. It is often presented as a hidden treasure, focusing on its resources and its geopolitical importance. But less is said about the problems its inhabitants face, such as the effects of climate change on the lives of the Inuit. The impact on the economy. Greenland has great economic potential, but it depends heavily on foreign investment, especially in mining and transportation. And its economy is vulnerable to the effects of climate change on its natural resources and communities. Its connection with other issues. The case of Greenland is closely linked to the militarization of the Arctic, climate change, and the rights of indigenous peoples. The global perspective. Greenland is at the center of the competition for the Arctic, where the interests of powers such as the United States, Russia, and China clash. The future. Greenland's destiny will depend on how it manages international pressure and how it manages to build an autonomous and sustainable economy. Conclusion. Greenland is much more than a mass of ice on the map. It is a microcosm of the great challenges facing our planet, the struggle for resources, climate change, the defense of ancestral cultures. Its story forces us to ask ourselves what kind of future we want to build and how we can do it in a fair and sustainable way. Greenland's story is far from over, and its outcome will affect us all.